at me crazy like that. You know
No,
very
I was
well.
having post-traumatic stress about the lack of a budget that you would ever
There's no budget
acknowledge
at
or
Christmas.
adhere to.
There's no budget at Christmas.
So that just brought back a
That's why you
memory.
looking crazy
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
no budget.
exactly.
Your whole eye started.
I was like,
Your whole eye started. So that whole question of what did you get them was really how much did you spend?
no, I mean, I felt like we would be in the mix, but no, I felt like I would start the season with
With
a
a
budget
yes.
and then a list, but then
Yes.
it would just
It
go
would
off
just
the
go
rails at some point.
It would just go left.
Like sometimes the last 5 days or
I
last
don't even
7
know how it
days,
happened.
we good, and then
Next thing you
know.
know. Anyway, because that's the joy.
Welcome to With Love, the Chambers.
Where life, laughter, and lasting lessons meet.
We're the Chambers, a husband and wife navigating faith, family, and everything in between.
Here we share real stories, heartfelt conversations, and a whole lot of love. Because life isn't perfect, but God's grace sure is.
So pull up a seat, grab a cup of coffee, or go ahead and sip that tea, and join us for honest talks, laughs, and the wisdom we're learning along the way. This is With Love, the Chambers.
This episode of With Love, The Chambers was brought to you by the Vision Engineering Collective, where purpose meets strategy and vision comes to life. If you've been enjoying the stories, the laughs, and those deep life lessons, we invite you to support the show and help us keep the love flowing. Head over to www.coff.ee/withlovethechambers. Think of it like buying us a cup of coffee or two. As always, thank you for hanging with us. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to part 2 of this very special episode of With Love the Chambers at Home for the Holidays. If you have not listened to part 1 yet, please go back, check out last week's episode because we are continuing our conversation already in progress. We are so thrilled to share our memories with you, our conversation about our upbringing, and some of the tips and nostalgia and some of the lessons learned from our childhood. So we invite you to join this part 2 of this conversation that's already in progress.
And I know for you, Jamila, I'm a dad, right? I'm a man. I think you have, I think you have treated the holidays with a higher regard, maybe, than me, right? And maybe because of the memories that you just said with your family, you know what I mean? But as a mother to our daughters, number one, what is one of your favorite memories to date, you know, of the holidays with them? Let's start there. What is your
Mhm.
favorite memory in the 21 years of
Oh
being a
my
mom
goodness.
that you say, wow, that was a joy.
Oh my goodness. So what I would say is a joy, and I find myself getting emotional.
Hmm.
And before I lose the train of thought, I want to talk about two things because you ran through some topics that were important.
Oh,
One,
love. Wish we had a
transitions.
whiteboard.
I know
We could have write
we
and
needed a
come back to the
whiteboard.
whiteboard. Yeah.
Write it and come back
Yeah,
to
yeah.
it because we of a certain age. If we
Yeah,
don't say it,
yeah.
we ain't gonna
Oh,
come back to
Lord.
it.
Yeah.
So transitions with adults, and then managing grief in the holidays. So I want to talk about those
Yeah.
two things.
Yeah.
But my best memories of them just being small is just having the benefit of waking up with these two little feet,
Hmm.
two little sets of feet on Christmas morning.
Hmm.
Like when you have young adult children now that no longer have the anticipation
Yes.
of Christmas morning. One of them doesn't even live here, right?
Fact.
So just those waking up on Christmas morning and they can't have sleep, the
Yeah.
night before, and they so excited,
Yeah.
and just that joy
Hmm.
of having young people
Yeah.
and having your babies anticipate Christmas. And there's so many people going around the internet right now showing that meme of mama sitting back with her house coat on, watching everybody unwrap Christmas
Oh, I
gifts.
don't think I've
Oh my
seen that
goodness,
one.
it's
Yeah.
hilarious.
I
Somebody
don't
send
think
it to
I.
Rufus. Somebody
Oh,
help him
okay.
out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
mama
don't think
sitting
I.
back with her coffee cup, just sitting back, just watching everybody open stuff and go
Mm.
get another one. Like literally, that's the
Oh,
joy
wow, yeah.
because as mom, you're negotiating, all of that, right? You're stirring all of that up, and half the time, Rufus, you'd be like, "What did we get together? What did we get him?" Because don't be looking at me crazy like that. You know
No,
good
I
and
was
well.
having post-traumatic stress about the lack of a budget that you would ever
There's no budget
acknowledge
at
or
Christmas.
adhere to.
There's no budget at Christmas.
So that just brought back a
That's why he
memory.
looking crazy
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
no.
exactly.
Your whole eye started.
I was like,
Your whole eye started. So that whole question of what did you get them was really how much did you spend?
no, I mean, I felt like we would be in the mix, but no, I felt like I would start the season
With
with
a
a
budget,
budget and
yes,
then a list, but then it
yes.
would just
It
go
would
off
just
the
go
rails
left.
at some
It
point.
would just go
Like
left.
sometime the last 5 days or
I
last
don't even know
7
how it
days,
happened.
oh, we good. And then,
Next
oh,
thing
I
you
had a
know.
little,
Anyway, because that's the joy. That's the
we
joy.
pretty, I think now that
Yeah.
yeah,
That's the joy. So I think some of my best memories is just having the joy of
mm-hmm,
having them have the wonderment, I
mm,
think, of Christmas. And that was newer for me. And one
mm-hmm,
of the things, and you mentioned it, and I just wanted to be very specific that, and we have shared that our children were the only grandchildren and are the only grandchildren on both sides of the family.
mm-hmm,
So a lot of that intentionality around making sure that they understood that no, Santa ain't gonna get the love for this. This
mm-mm,
was your parents
yeah,
and your grandparents and your aunts and your uncle. Like this was people that love you, that work really hard,
yeah,
that, were thinking about you. And that's who gets
yeah,
the credit
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah. We
making
didn't,
this
yeah.
this moment for you. And don't you go to school telling your friends ain't no Santa too. Like
Oh
we
yeah,
were very
yeah.
very
We had to,
small. Like
yeah.
don't you
That was a
go.
whole
Yes,
conversation.
like
Don't ruin it,
don't
but
you
at the
go.
same
Yes, don't
time,
you go to school ruining it
yeah,
for your friends
yeah.
because you may have some friends that think differently,
Mm-hmm.
but we need you to understand
What it is.
what it is and what that means. And so that was very very important to us. And part of that, again, Christmas tradition for us was having that moment of gratitude before opening up your gifts. And I remember Willow saying to us when she was 8 or 9 years old, I'm really grateful that God revealed my gift to me.
Mm-hmm.
And she was
Mm-hmm.
sitting right here. If you were in
In
our
this
space
home,
right now, we
right?
were
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this
We
home.
was
She
at
was
home. Yeah.
sitting like right to my left on the end of that couch, and she was
Mm-hmm.
8 or 9 years old, and said, I know that I was born to perform, to sing,
Yeah.
to, and I'm grateful that God revealed that to me. And she was single digits.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about, those moments, those are things that I hold really dear. And for us, it Christmas breakfast was
Oh yeah.
a
Yeah, that's
huge,
true. Yeah.
huge thing. And you talked
Yeah.
about our extended family gathering, and that was a tradition that I took from my mother's home,
Yeah.
and
First home we had.
and into
Carlson.
the first home we had, even before we had children. We would
Mm-hmm.
host our family and our extended family on Christmas morning, and we would get up and cook breakfast, and that was part
Mm-hmm.
of our gift. And then everybody that came to our home had a gift. That's another thing that continued until recent years after we stopped having young people. But like I would buy and make sure that if you came to our house for any reason
Mm.
at any time during the holidays, you were gonna leave with a bag of candy,
Mm.
some
Back to
a
budget. Back to
back to the
budget.
budget because
Back
there's
to
no
the
budget.
budget.
But
Yeah.
it was important, during that
Yeah.
holiday season that, you were going to leave with something. Or when you came to our home for Christmas breakfast, you were going to have breakfast, you were going to be able to hang, we were going to have a good time, and then you were going to leave with something. And so that those were great memories, and something that was just very very special around those times. And we got to spend those times with our grandparents and
Mm-hmm.
with our extended family and friends. And so that just was really 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 special. Two things before we close out today,
Mm-hmm.
because it's very important, and we have experienced having the transition now, because we talk about that time in the past tense of having young adults
Mm.
and our oldest daughter just turned 21. Our youngest is 17, but will be 18 in just a
Mhm.
few months.
Yeah.
Will be 18 in just a few
Yeah.
months. And so transitioning from that season where the joy of the season was these little faces and
Mm.
these two little sets of feet, coming down the hallway to now both of them are taller than I am and
Yeah.
living their lives and like you said aggressively pursuing
Yeah.
their
Absolutely.
aspirations and their dreams and all of those things. And so talk about how we've been navigating that transition with these young adult children and no longer having that wonderment, right,
Mhm.
and starry eyes around the holidays, but how do we now navigate what it looks like today?
That's a great question, and I feel like I don't know if I have the answer. I think it's about being fluid. I think
Yeah.
it's about being flexible. I think it's also about a hope that, what you've instilled in them will bear fruit. At the end of the day, we're saying how much the holidays mean for family and this, that, and the
Yes.
other. So you're actually hoping that that message for them
Yes.
will live in some kind of way. But at the same time, it's, again, the oldest, we got Friendsgiving,
Sure.
or, we
Sure.
want to, we going here, or we traveling here. And, the oldest is starting to kind of stick and move with traveling. So I think the transition is acknowledging, the transition,
Mhm.
acknowledging the independence and quasi independence.
Sure.
um I think it's about being okay, with the future being upon us. And we realize now as parents, I feel like we're in the in between,
Mhm.
because they're becoming young women, they're becoming women, but they haven't said the time it's going to take for them to settle into their rhythm and routine
Sure.
of
Sure.
that marathon, that plat, that could be, we don't know how many years.
Sure.
So in this long transition, this long turn, I feel like we have to be nimble. And then again, I think back to what we've said in previous episode, we got to be intentional about what we desire to do and who we desire to
Yes.
spend time with.
Yes.
That's another thing, and that's a very real conversation right now. And I know sometimes it's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's a conversation nevertheless.
Mhm.
Praise the Lord. What say
Mhm.
you?
Oh my goodness. I feel like as soon as you said that's a hard question to answer, I feel like we probably should have this conversation this time next year because we're answering it
Ye-
right now.
yeah,
I think the biggest thing, and if I could have to say the thing that I'm hoping is helpful to us, and the
yeah.
proof will be in the pudding, is that we have acknowledged that that time is
Now,
beyond us,
yes,
right? So we have fully come to the realization and the knowledge that, those days of uh Christmas breakfast and little
yeah,
bitty feed and all of the things that's behind us. So then what does it look like now?
yeah,
And we are discovering and maneuvering through and negotiating through what it looks like now.
yes.
So I feel like this is a real-time conversation, but the only nugget I have is for the for sure ism of it all, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
is that we have acknowledged that, oh no, this time is this is here.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to rewind the clock and turn back the pages on the
Can't,
calendar
unfortunately.
and
Yeah.
Regina Bell make it like it was. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
just,
Yeah.
it's a time for us to move forward. And so it's also a time for us to say, are we going to travel on Christmas Day? We
Yeah.
can do that now. It was very important for me when the kids were small to do the whole I want them to be able to be in their pajamas on
Yeah.
Christmas morning at their home and
Mm-hmm.
well now that is not something they have that memory
Yeah.
and they have those core
Yeah.
um memories that they can refer to. Hey, do we travel? Do we,
Yeah.
pick another tradition? What are
Create new
we,
traditions. Yeah.
and make new traditions? So
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
is the space that we're in now. We haven't landed in or locked in on what that new tradition is, so to
Absolutely.
speak, other than to say we need to find them.
Absolutely.
Other than to say we need to find them.
Absolutely.
And speaking of new traditions
Mhm.
and having to find new traditions, you and I have experienced, and the way we have described it is the empty chair at the dinner table,
Mhm.
right? You've had the loss of a loved one, and there is someone
Mhm.
that was with us last Thanksgiving, last
Mhm.
Christmas, last New Year's Day that is not,
Yeah.
here with us
Yeah.
this year. And when you and I met in 1996, your father had just been
Mhm.
gone 2 years at that point. And one of the things I remember you doing very, very early on, much to your mother's credit, was creating these new traditions
Yes.
around the holidays
Mhm.
and Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, Thanksgiving, with Thanksgiving and Christmas, but
Yeah.
particularly around Christmas is what I remember. That
Mhm.
Christmas of '96, you all going to, I believe it was Florida or
I
Walt
think
Disney
so,
World or
yeah.
something like that, and creating these new traditions. So talk to and encourage anyone that might be at this, even if it's not the first, but maybe the first holiday season, needing to really
Yeah.
solidify what it looks like when a loved one is no longer with us, but we have to determine what that next move is going to be. Talk about that moment and those moments when those new traditions have to be built.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, it's a very sensitive
It
conversation,
is.
because like I said earlier, like everybody grieves and mourns differently.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, regardless of where you are at with your mourning and grief, period, I would always say start with gratitude,
Mm,
and gratitude being acknowledge all of the times, all of the memories, all of the laughter that you had with that person that is no longer there.
mm-hmm.
Because what we realize is that doesn't end
Yes.
with the benediction at the funeral or at the memorial. I mean, those memories,
Mm-hmm.
those conversations, those pictures, those will outlive our lives.
Yes.
So to me, you need to acknowledge those. You need to have gratitude for those. You know what I mean? And I know sometimes with grief and mourning, people don't like to revisit memories or they
Mm-hmm.
don't like talking about because of now I got to confront it. But
Sure.
I pray that in time and space, you will be able to do that
Mm-hmm.
because there can be some joy
Mm-hmm.
because of the lasting impression of those memories,
Mm-hmm.
the lasting love, that is still yet there. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I would say start. And I think with creating new memories, absolutely that can be appropriate. You mentioned one of our friends who lost, their mother this year. The
Mm-hmm.
family's still going to gather at the mother's house. I
Yes.
mean, that to
Yes.
me, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because to me, that's starting. It's starting a new tradition, but it's also acknowledging a
Mm-hmm.
previous tradition and acknowledging a legacy.
Yes.
That to me is very courageous, and I love that. So I think gratitude, um, new traditions, are key, but also intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is something we've talked about in the years before. It's like we have a choice in how we face
Sure.
this loss. You know what I'm saying? We have an opportunity to say, and that's why I feel like how you start it can be critical. It can be
Sure.
important. You know what I'm saying? To me, to develop some healthy habits around acknowledging that wow,
Mm-hmm.
somebody's no longer there. And I think for me, some of the most pivotal losses that I've had, some of the most lasting losses that I've had I've tried to be okay with calling that person's name. I try to be
Yes.
okay with verbalizing the memories.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I try and, hey, this is what we used to do, or this
Yes.
is what he said, this is what she represent, and just, because I don't want to be. I almost feel like it's. You don't want to play bait and switch with yourself. You don't want to play a game with yourself
Mm.
as though the loss isn't there, the
Mhm.
memories aren't there. Like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm gonna just live my life running from the memories. You can't do that.
Mhm.
You can't do that. You know what I mean? So find a place where you can lament, where you can mourn, where you could grieve, but also celebrate
Mhm.
the gift of life that was given to you for the span that you had them.
Yes.
That person no longer owes you anything.
Yes.
They've went on. So acknowledge the gift.
Mhm.
Not only acknowledge the gift, acknowledge the gift that you're giving a person while you're here. That's another thing.
Yes.
This thing goes
Yes.
two
It
ways,
does.
right? So, and that's a whole separate podcast, but you know me, I have a very unique
Yes.
mentality about grief and mourning and all that. So I don't want to get too deep into that. And I know for you, you know what I mean? I think about, Jason Daniel Wyndham,
Yes.
um, you know, his life, how our family has transitioned, you know what I mean? With him, what have been some of the things that have allowed you to move forward, since his transition? And I know
Yeah.
again, you guys had some phenomenal holidays.
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
I mean, yeah. So,
Yes, and so like many families, and my situation isn't unique. My brother passed away the week of my birthday
mm-hmm,
and was funeralized around Thanksgiving, a couple
mm-hmm,
days before Thanksgiving. So as with many of you, those holiday moments in these end of the year kind of moments are also anniversaries
mm-hmm.
of
Yeah,
my brother's passing. And one thing I credit my mother with, I credit my parents with many things, but one thing about this in particular is that my mom made a plan. Like that first Christmas, it was like, we are going to Terranea, we are going to the South Bay, and we're going to spend some time together. And we might be there, and we might be there crying, but we're going to be together,
yeah,
and we're going to have a plan, and it's going to be intentional. And I really appreciated that mindset, and I've seen so many people duplicate it. I think of my friend Lily in particular. The year
mm,
her father passed, like, no, I'm going to Hawaii
yeah,
and I'm traveling by myself,
yeah.
but I'm going to make up, I'm going to plan and
Yes,
have a
yes,
plan for it. I think where I have seen people really struggle is not creating a plan for those moments,
yes.
whether it and I call them all the firsts, right? Whether it's the anniversary of their passing, their first birthday, or
A
graduate,
graduation, a
or if they're
wedding,
your spouse, your wedding
a
anniversary, like,
baby being born.
yeah. So all of
Mm-hmm.
the moments that are the first, I think what has been so helpful to us has been the intentionality around that. And to your point with talking about just how we process that grief and how we do this, my mother always says, I've survived the hardest day. I've survived the hardest day. So I got
Mm-hmm.
through
Yeah,
that first day.
yeah,
And because I was able to get through that first day, and I'm not saying I won't have other difficult days, but I know I can get on
yeah,
the other side of it. And that was just the mentality and the thought process. And I think that has been just so impactful. So what I would say to anybody listening or to anybody that is experiencing those first is really, really to come together and have a plan, and don't be afraid to be there on the beach crying. Don't be afraid to be there in mama's living room, and
yeah,
she ain't there, but you're there and you're together, and you might not even want to go.
yeah,
And guess what?
yeah,
You ain't the only one that don't want to go, because we don't want to go because we miss them, right? And that was the cost and the price we pay for loving them and for them being so impactful in our lives, is that you're going to miss these
Yeah.
folks, and that part of it is not going to go away. So sometimes you might have to do it and be emotional and have the
Mhm.
moments, but you're together.
Yeah.
You're creating those new memories together, and to your point earlier, you're able to honor who's no longer at the table, but you're not withdrawing yourself
Yeah.
from the other friends, families, nieces, nephews,
Yeah.
siblings, spouses, and
Yeah.
everybody else,
Yeah.
because we are still here and we are still in the land of the living. I think about, and I'll find a place to land us here. Our Granny Dot, who passed
Mhm.
away this year at 102. This is our first Thanksgiving
Yeah.
without her this particular year. And I remember last Thanksgiving, her enjoying your mama's sweet potato pie. She didn't,
Mhm.
at that point, she didn't want to eat too much of nothing else. But baby, let me tell you something.
Let me get a second bite.
Let me get a second bite of that sweet potato pie, because what she was gonna do was eat Linda Joe's sweet
That's
potato
right.
pie.
That's right.
And so I have, that memory, and I always think about people like our grandparents that lived to be in their hundreds
Mhm.
and in their 90s, and the type of revelation that they had to have when you outlive your parents and your siblings
Mhm.
and your neighbors, and in their case, many of their spouses, and all of those things. They all had a revelation about being in the land of the living that I have
Yeah.
come to admire now that I understood and have some understanding of what that means, that they were present for us.
Yeah.
We're talking about Granny Dot. By the time you had your memories with Granny Dot, her parents had already passed,
Yeah.
and and baby, let me tell you something. She wasn't no less present for you and
Not at
creating those
all.
memories for you
Yeah.
while she was yet missing
Come on.
the people that were instrumental to her in her childhood.
Absolutely.
And so I have come to even learn, when you talk about that love that continues, I
Mhm.
have come to even get those lessons from them now beyond the grave, with them saying, no, 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 you can miss me, but you need to be yet in the land of the living. You can do both things at once. You can
Mhm.
miss me and you can be present for your spouse and for your children and for your grandchildren. And it makes you even more appreciative of the parents we still have three parents, and
Mhm.
that's a beautiful thing, at this age, to be able to say that. And so we can yet, still have that
Absolutely.
gratitude for what we do have. And I think we never saw any of them, these grandparents, had their head hung low, or not
No, they
smiling, or
was
not
yeah.
making. Grandfather was still making that dressing,
That's
and
right.
he had already buried his mother, and
Mhm.
Aunt Candy had already passed on, his
Yeah.
siblings, and all
Mhm.
that at that time. But he was yet
Showing
making
up.
that dressing
That's
and
right.
going to the trunk and getting his little nip of drink, because
Mhm.
grandfather had to bring his own drink, by the
That's
way.
right.
He
That's
he
right.
he wasn't gonna worry about the drink you had at your house. He
That's
had to go
right.
to the trunk and get his own drink, because he needed to make it a certain kind of way.
That's right.
He wasn't gonna be messing around with what you had at the house. And so
Mhm.
we still had like all of those memories. Um Even though they had gone on. So I'm learning,
Yes.
from them
They
even
still
now,
teaching.
that they are still
Still
teaching and
teaching.
still approaching. So I'll let you have the last word and we'll
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. No, thank you all for listening
Yes.
to today's episode. This is definitely a very heartfelt episode
Yeah.
for us. We are so grateful that we have had these amazing memories over the holiday, all these holidays throughout our entire life. And, we hope that as you approach the season that you're acknowledging, the good times that you've had in your own life, and that with us, you take it as a challenge to try and create some great memories for those that you love and cherish the most. I will ask you to hit the share button, hit the like button, drop a comment on some of your memories, for the holidays throughout your life. We thank you for your continued listenership and
Yes.
viewership. Thank you for helping this With Love the Chambers platform and podcast get off the ground. I will officially say
Yes.
we are off the ground, y'all. We are no longer trying. This is something we are
I love
doing.
that.
So we thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're going to sign off, and we will see you again next time. God bless.
This episode of With Love, The Chambers was brought to you by the Vision Engineering Collective, where purpose meets strategy and vision comes to life. If you've been enjoying the stories, the laughs, and those deep life lessons, we invite you to support the show and help us keep the love flowing. Head over to www.cough.ee/withlovethechambers. Think of it like buying us a cup of coffee or two. As always, thank you for hanging with us. We'll see you next time. With Love, The Chambers.
That's a wrap for today's episode of With Love, The Chambers.
We hope you laughed, learned, and felt encouraged along the way.
If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs a little love and wisdom today.
You can also connect with us online on all social media platforms at Rufus Chambers Online and at Jamila Chambers. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time,
Keep living, keep laughing, and keep learning with Love, The Chambers.